believers. My name is Pastor George Amadi, and with me today is my beautiful wife, Pastor Chika Amadi, the presenter of the Pastor's Wife Talk Show on Faith World TV. We want to invite you to be part of this beautiful program that is changing lives. My God is going around the world, in Africa, America, Europe, everywhere, and lives are being transformed. Whatever you do, join us on Thursdays and watch the Pastor's Wife Talk Show.
Yes, the Pastor's Wife Talk Show every Thursday, 12 noon on the dot, on Faith World TV, Sky Channel 588, or on YouTube channel, Pastor Chika Amadi, Family Matters. In this program, we discuss everything about families. There's no limit. So please get your friends involved, get your family, join us every Thursday at 12 noon.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Pastor's Wife Talk Show on Faith World TV. As you can see, we are not the Pastor's Wife of the Pastor's Wife Talk Show, but we are standing in for Pastor Chika today. I'm Paula.
I'm David.
Abiona. We're married to each other, and we'll be talking about godly dating today as a newly married couple.
Yeah, so we had a really great conversation on the previous episode, kind of just introducing our story, our journey from being young Christians into becoming friends to dating and then having our marriage recently. So we're just going to delve deeper into that and kind of dive into elements of this story, just with the hope of sharing our experience about dating towards marriage and praying that you'll be able to receive wisdom from our experience as well.
And encouragement.
Definitely. So let's just start at the beginning. It'd probably be great to just go over again how we met. Do you want to share your side of the story?
Yeah. So we've been friends since university. We didn't go to the same university, but we're part of a chain of Christian societies that would regularly meet across the country in Nottingham.
Yeah.
Can we say we can say places in Nottingham. And it was really nice just like being friends, seeing each other once in a while. David was releasing music and spoken word at the time, and I did stuff. I did photography, I wrote a blog, I had a YouTube channel, did general content creation. So our paths crossed a couple of times, and we were just friends for a while. Fast forward to 2021, where we, and so we've been friends for years at this point, but never really connected like that. It was just, a very platonic friendship. And then in 2021, we were seeing each other a lot more because we were going to the same events in London. Everything was opening up after the pandemic. We started going to the same church, and we were just spending a lot of time together. And that's when we started to realize that we had feelings for each other, or not realize we had feelings for each other. We thought we could develop this friendship into a relationship. David approached me because I would never approach him. I wouldn't do that. He approached me, and he was like really just like nice and kind about it. He was just like, I want to get to know you more. And initially, like right at the beginning, I didn't know he was interested in me. I thought it was just a friendship thing. He was like, oh, let's catch up with coffee. And I was like, oh, we're catching up over, like we know each other. But it was so nice to just have someone be really like genuine with you. And by the time we started dating, he was very intentional and very clear about what he wanted from this. What's your side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I echo all of that, was just said. We started as friends in university. I think what helped was being part of the same, Christian fellowship, to say, and just knowing that we were part of just a community of people that were really vibrant for Christ. And it gave us a space to express ourselves creatively.
Yeah.
So my first thing of you that I knew was that you're a photographer, that you loved Christian music, that you wrote as well, stuff that I was really much interested in. So although we may not have been best of friends straight away, just knowing you in that setting just gave me an understanding of, okay, this is somebody who I can relate with in a certain way. So I remember performing at a show at the university in the city that she went to uni in, and we saw each other there. Again, it was just developing our friendship at that point. Fast forward a year or two, we started to see each other out more, and I was like, oh, who's this person? And just seeing her in real life, it's just like, oh wow, like I see what I've been missing this whole time. And that really just sparked us starting to date. And from there, just things moved quite quickly. Not in a sense of anything was rushed, but I think because we had a strong foundation,
Yeah.
again, of knowing each other's were mature Christians as well, that really helped us to have just confidence and faith that we could wisely approach the dating season, which we'll get into. But yeah, we dated. Following that, we got engaged, obviously, and we're married now. But there are a number of things within that story that we feel can be of an encouragement, which we can kind of go into. So I think we mentioned about community, about us both being, I guess, at first within the same youth fellowship community, then after that being within the same church community after we graduated from uni. What are some key things you think that community brings when it comes to dating that you think are important?
So I think one of the things it brings is just a balance, because when you're in a relationship, especially near the beginning of it, everything feels heightened and intense. Like the love feels so lovey-dovey, but then the lows feel really low, the colours feel brighter, and all the feelings feel a lot more euphoric, and everything's really intense. And having people that are kind of outside looking in and want the best for you, kind of calming you down and bringing you back to reality, helps just, brings peace when your mind is quite turbulent. I think for me, so I joined a church that David was already going to. So I joined, and even though I kind of knew a few people there, felt kind of a fish out of water, like, oh no, I have to like make new friends. But was able to make really amazing friends that I still love to this day in that church. And getting to know David, and as we were early in our dating relationship, getting to know his friends, and knowing that they were sensible men that loved God as well, made it a lot easier. Sometimes for men and women, you have friends that it's actually quite embarrassing to tell people you're friends with them. And, the community around you aren't encouraging at all. When you are starting to date someone, it can really be a red flag. And for me, all his friends were very quick to take me on as like a sister in Christ, encourage me, and I knew they were encouraging him well as well. So I think, yes, in terms of like community, it's just being around people that love God, number one, but love you. And so when they tell you stuff, it's out of your best interest. And we always talk about accountability as well. And I know you can touch on that in a bit, but for me, it was around this time that I started to actually get mentorship and accountability upwards. So I had a lot of friends, and they were great for, building me up peer by peer, so sideways. But just in terms of people who had lived a bit longer than I had, who had more experiences than I had been in more relationships than I'd been, encouraging me, telling me, giving me advice, supporting me, and also bringing me up when I felt really down. It was around this time that it started happening for me. And that's probably why I was like emotionally stable enough, I guess, to be in a relationship that did end up in marriage. So likewise, just encouraging you that you probably don't know it all. It's worth having people older than you pouring into you as well as your friends, because that accountability, that community helps lead you to growth and maturity within yourself.
That's great. And I second that. I think for me, being in community provided other role models. I was blessed enough to have a lot of friends, I'd even say brothers, who were in a year or two above me at university, and being able to go through uni with them was great. Practically, of course, learning from them, but also in the stage of becoming a man, seeing some of these guys go into marriage before us, even have kids at some stage before us. Like, it was helpful to see it unfold before my eyes. And I'm someone who likes to learn through seeing sometimes, and being able to confide in them about questions, even just looking at their marriages or their relationships and seeing how they've done things. I think that provided a lot of support to where when we may have come across certain things, like how to deal with like aspirations, how to deal with like planning for a wedding, and so much more. We had people that we could go to because they were already in our community. So the importance of being a part of a body of people, if it's in church or other wise people, is just so key. And I know our relationship has been blessed a lot by having those kind of voices. And even moving on from that, as much as relationships always is the hot topic, there is a lot of people who may have experienced hurt in this area, or who may, be recovering from some bad relationships, or maybe just don't know why marriage is something worth pursuing. Are these questions you feel like you have people ask, or what are some obstacles maybe to relationships that you think people might face today?
I think for a lot of Christian women is the just like overwhelming messaging that you're not complete unless you're a wife, or you're not complete unless you're in a relationship. And that makes us feel like I'm single because there's something wrong with me. And I'm just here to tell you that's not true at all. That's not biblical. There is nowhere in the Bible where it says you're single because there's something wrong with you, or you're being punished because that's why you're single. I think that marriage is so beautiful and so amazing and so incredible and so fun. And this stage of my life has been amazing. But I also lived 20, how old was I when I got 25?
Yeah.
I turned 25. I've lived 24, 25 years as a single woman and accomplished so much. And those years are not negated by the fact that I've been in a relationship or married for 2 months. That doesn't erase all of that. And I just want to encourage you that if you are in a time of your life where you're being called to be by yourself, and you're called, and not even necessarily by yourself, because friends and family are people that should be included in that. But if you're in a season if you are in a season where you are single, enjoy the singleness. And I know it's hard to take sometimes, but just use this as a time to grow in all the areas outside of marriage. Like, let it be that by the time, if you desire marriage, by the time you do get married, or by the time you are in a relationship, you're not half, you are whole as a person, and you're bringing your absolute best, because you're also intending and praying for this person to bring their best. You don't bring two broken half pieces together, you bring two whole pieces together, and you can only be whole through Christ. So I just really want to encourage, like, specifically the Christian women that just feel like, why am I being left behind? You're not left behind. This might be the time you buy houses. This might be the time you really soar in your career. This might be the time that you excel in so many different areas. And you can do that when you're married as well. And even in the 2 months we've been married, we've both just excelled in amazing areas. But you can also do that when you're by yourself. And I want to encourage you to start that now and not be scared. Throw away this thing of being ambitious. Too ambitious means men will run away from you. The wrong men will run away from you. And you want that. You want them to flee. So I really want to encourage you that this is a season of enjoyment. It's not a season of sorrow. Yes, you can desire marriage, and it's a good thing to desire. And I promise you, before I met David, literally the summer before I met David, I said to God, I'm tired of being single as well. But it wasn't in that time that I just gave it up to anybody, or I just gave up. I just decided to get out the house and position myself a bit more. And that's when I started to date and meet the person I now am married to. So I think that's the only encouragement I can give.
That's really good. And I think it speaks to so much people, I'm sure, that message. And even what you mentioned about living to your fullest, even within your single stage, is something that is important to remember. As much as marriage is amazing, sometimes we can idolize that and almost put our whole messaging around that. That's the only thing that God made. And it's no, God made different seasons of life to achieve different things. And singleness is a great time to, explore, to understand your gifting, your passions. Travel. To travel, to do a lot of things. And even to speak on that, I think we've both benefited from spending our singlehood really learning about ourselves, about our culture, about things that excite us, to where it's really enriched our marriage. It's really added, deeper levels to how we see each other and things we want to even achieve and try together. And even to speak on that, I think it's important that whatever season of life you're in, this is always important, but especially as a single person, where you have maybe more time, freedom, less responsibilities, to really just explore, to really take the time to learn God and learn about his precepts, but learn about how he wants us to live in this space. We all have different spheres of influence, and I think it's important that we maximize the time we have in those areas. For me, it looked like creativity, it looked like music, it looked like developing myself as a songwriter and as an artist. And I feel like doing that positioned me in certain areas where I was able to see you, for example, more, and even meet other people that have become great friends, brothers and sisters to us, I guess, in our relationship, where it's added to our community. So I think it's important to understand that obviously nobody will ever know every part of their purpose today, but there are things that God has given us to pursue in this season. So if we commit ourselves to those things, it benefits the kingdom. It can be a blessing unto ourselves. And whenever it is God's plan for a relationship for somebody, it can benefit that as well. So, yeah.
That's really good.
I think even moving to our next point, One thing we wanted to just, I guess, touch upon is maybe the future. Obviously, we're new in this game, so there's not a lot that we can share. But even what things do you think from previous seasons of life have given you, I guess, equipped you for like this season and are giving you excitement for the next season to come?
I don't really know. I think I'm quite open and excited. And I think I've mentioned before that prior to like dating and marrying David, I was very serious in everything. Like, I used to give everything my all, which is great, but I just didn't really enjoy a lot of things. I didn't get to really deepen my personality in the things I loved. Even though I was doing everything, there was a lot of like shallow, like just get stuff done. And it was when we started getting together and I literally was praying to God, like, I want to enjoy this marriage. And because we were friends, this relationship, sorry, we really enjoyed our dating and enjoyed our friendship. And I think because of that, I'm now excited for the future without being regimented for the future. Like, I'm not predicting and planning everything. Whereas I used to be extremely like hands-on and very controlling. I actually can't plan my future and I cannot control my future. That is very much God's job. And I think because I've seen him come through for me for so long, for so many years, like I'm still here, I'm like, I might as well trust my future in his hands. That's not to say we don't plan. We definitely spend the beginning of the year planning and praying towards the year. But we also say, God, have your way and have your will. And, you know, take a step back and put our hands up and wait for him to start to move. That has just been really good for us. It's meant that every year has been different. Every year has been fun and enjoyable. And we've tried new things. And I think knowing that next year I might want to do something completely random. And Dave is going to be there to support me because we've made the vow of love and commitment to each other is an encouragement. And it shows me that there is actually nothing in this world that I cannot do. Let's just wait for the time to do it and it's going to get done. So what's exciting me for the future? Just being alive and being able to live it and enjoy marriage together. What about you?
I think, everything you just said. I think knowing that we've both been growing in Christ consistently, I don't want to sound cliche, but I will sound cliche. I think seeing how I was able to grow as a Christian in my younger years to like becoming a young adult and seeing how God was speaking to me in different ways and how that's developed. I'm excited to see how that develops for both of us and how we can grow as a unit and how we can hear God speak to us together in new ways, how we can help to inspire things that we do with our future, places that we go, how we approach ministry. I'm really excited for that. And obviously creatively, like we're both very creative people in terms of how we use our gifts and how we create community. And I'm really excited to see how our marriage can be a foundation for that and how we can support other people, how it can help both of us to grow as well. So those things are, just some things that I'm excited for. And I know that, as you mentioned rightly, we can't control our future, but God has given us some things to know today, and we can go with that. And I'm excited to keep applying myself and for us together to do those things too. Another thing I wanted to kind of like flip the switch and talk about was social media, just briefly, and how, we live in a time where that's a very instrumental part of dating. I guess it kind of aided our friendship at a point. What's your thoughts on where social media sits right now within the dating landscape, and how do you think as Christians it's best for us to approach it?
That's a really interesting question. So we didn't meet on social media, but that's where we grew a lot of our friendship because we didn't go to the same university. We didn't see each other actively very much. So social media was great for keeping each of us in front of each other's minds, if that makes sense. Like, he saw my posts, and so he would know I was there. I saw his posts, I knew he was there. And we were also able to really dig into each other's gifts. So I was I listened to your music and I knew your lyrics. I went to your shows, I bought your merch, and this is all platonic. And you listened to my podcast, you watched what I posted and stuff like that. And I think it was really good for that. It was good for making each other aware. And, it was good for building a friendship and a rapport. But they came to a point where we had to meet in person and we had to actually see if this thing's, had legs. So we kind of talked a bit on socials, but it wasn't until we started seeing each other at events and at church that we actually got to a point where we were like, this this is something, and I think I might want to pursue this with this person, and will him pursue me, and this relationship is worth our time and energy. So I do think social media holds a place, and in just connecting people, because I don't know where you're watching this from. You might not have loads of Christians around you, or, if you have a certain preference, not that I'm saying you should keep your preference cold on you, sometimes branch out, but certain preference may not be around you much, and you're like, oh no, I'm not going to find the love of my life because, there's no Black Christians in this area. Maybe social media is useful for that, for getting, on people's radar and getting to know people without the pressure of meeting up. But there is a time that you need to meet up and meet this person in real life, because anything could have been said on Instagram and TikTok and WhatsApp and text. When you're with someone, it's really difficult to put up pretenses compared to on social media. And not just meet once or twice, like meet regularly and speak regularly. Like, how can you be developing a relationship with someone and you don't talk often? Like, do you like them? Like, you do need to keep in touch and share your likes, your dislikes, your day with them. And so it did play a big part for us. But at some point it was very intentional. And we lived far from each other. It wasn't even like we were down the road. We lived quite far. So it was a sacrifice to actively see each other multiple times a week. But we put that in because we realized very early that this was worth the time and energy. And so, yes, social media is amazing, but your whole relationship cannot be based on selfies and messaging each other. You have to meet in person and you have to actively spend time around each other. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I believe, we have a lot of tools in our day and age that we can use to our benefit, social media being one of those things. But it also just comes down to how we choose to use it. It comes down to using it with wisdom, being aware of the pros and cons. As you said, the pros is availability of speaking to people, but the cons could be not having that face-to-face contact, and being intentional about stepping away from the keyboard and stepping onto the street to meet the person. I think is really key, and that's just with life in general. I think social media has really transformed how we communicate, how we do business, how we do ministry. But it's important as human beings that we still have that human interaction. And of course, some people are limited by maybe distance. Maybe the person you're talking to is overseas, and that can be harder. But there still has to be that space for meeting somebody in real life and having that real contact. But at the same time, I think social media can be an amazing catalyst for growth of relationships. It can help you to see somebody, I guess, again, for us as creatives, to see each other in a more creative way in how we express ourselves online. So I want to believe that there is more pros, but I know there is a lot of cons, even with dating websites and these kind of things. I believe that these can be used for good, and we both have stories of friends who
met their husband or wife.
And got married, and it's beautiful to see that God can use any of these avenues to bring glory to himself, but it just takes wisdom. It's just interesting knowing that maybe 100, 200 years ago, the dating scene would have been very different in how they communicated. They courted. But then at the same time, it all comes down to communication, how you communicate. And in 100 years, who knows what app or AI is going to be in the dating scene, but it all comes down to being mature, being wise, and communicating honestly. I think those principles we see in the Bible, we see it in Ephesians, in Proverbs, just about how we can be wise with how we communicate. And I think if we do these things, it helps us to hope for the best, especially within the dating space. So I guess just in summary, if there's somebody who maybe was asking for advice, maybe they're trying to see what the dating space is like, or they're seeing somebody and they want to just have some advice for how to move forward, what would you say? What would you say to your younger self maybe 5 years ago, who was maybe not necessarily planning for marriage, but knowing that they're going to be in a dating position soon? What would you say to them?
So 5 years ago, I was 22. So I don't know. A 22-year-old full of maybe shouldn't be dating? No. But I think at 22, I also wanted to be in a relationship and was really excited at the prospect of being in love and having a companion. And I would tell myself that these are really good desires given by a very good God. I would tell myself to actually spend time in the Word and in prayer and in actually building a relationship further with God, which I had at the time, but it was a lot more shallow than it is now. And obviously, life has a way of pulling you closer to God as you go through issues and also as you go through victories. So at the time, I was finishing uni, and I think I was just like enjoying like the freedom of finishing education, but now starting the real world and work. I think I would just really tell myself to throw myself into work and into progressing myself and my career and going to new levels. And at the same time, praying that God would align me with someone else who was similar in that regard, you know, creative and loved the things of God as well. I would also tell myself to build community. I was really blessed that around the time we started dating was around the time I started building a lot more intentional community, particularly at church. And I would have told myself to start that earlier. I think I spent a lot of my early 20s as a lone wolf. I had friends, but I wasn't really in community, and I also wasn't super transparent with my friends either. I was kind of like trust issues, didn't want to share too much. I think I would just really encourage you to get to a point of building community, building friendship, building foundations, so when you do start to cross with people that are similar and may become the love of your life, you're not left alone to do that.
That's amazing.
I hope that encouraged you today. If you did find encouragement, please come back to watch the show again and be blessed further. This is the Pastor's Wife Talk Show on Faith World TV. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Hello, viewers. My name is Pastor George Amadi, and with me today is my beautiful wife, Pastor Chika Amadi, the presenter of the Pastor's Wife Talk Show on Faith World TV. We want to invite you to be part of this beautiful program that is changing lives. My God is going around the world, in Africa, America, Europe, everywhere, and lives are being transformed. Whatever you do, join us on Thursdays and watch the Pastor's Wife Talk Show.
Yes, the Pastor's Wife Talk Show every Thursday, 12 noon on the dot, on Faith World TV, Sky Channel 588, or on YouTube channel, Pastor Chika Amadi, Family Matters. In this program, we discuss everything about families. There's no limit. So please get your friends involved, get your family, join us every Thursday at 12 noon.